want to invite our moderator, Jillian Viner. She's amazing. She's the marketing manager there. She leads a team of 5 diverse marketing professionals to develop and execute brand campaigns that build awareness for Insight and the power of our strategic partnership. And her day-to-day looks very much that she's a self-starter, creative problem solver. She focuses on all about the strong brand narrative. She's educated and experienced in writing and verbal communication, content strategy, campaign strategy, graphic design, video, and photography. Jillian, you're like one of my favorite people that I want to hang out with because I love those marketing piece and how you can bring marketing to life. One of the things that I noticed when I was following you on LinkedIn, that you're also a Seth Godin fan. That means we love to have tribes and we love to build tribes. So which is really a good skill to have in the current environment. So with that, I'm going to hand over the baton and you can bring your tribe and really drive a fantastic panel for all of us. So I'm handing over.
Thank you. Thank you so much. What an introduction. My goodness. And I got to tell you, I'm going to be joined today by 2 women who are even just more amazing. It's really good to be here. My name again is Jillian Viner. I'm a 5-year veteran here at Insight, and I currently serve as marketing manager over Insight's brand campaign and content. And like I said, I've got 2 fabulous people to introduce you to. So first, to set the stage, we're all kind of feeling the impact of this great resignation or the great reshuffle. We're hearing this quiet quitting mentality, which is really discouraging. But, to be honest, the root of it is that people are really being more thoughtful and selective about their employer or their next employer. And so, it's one thing to become an employer of choice, but the next challenge is really building the reputation that you are an employer of choice. You got to do the work and then you got to get the word out there. So helping Insight achieve this on a global scale is Melissa Smith, the Global Vice President of Talent Acquisition. Can I get Melissa on the stage?
Hi, Jillian.
Hi, Melissa. I'm glad we didn't have a technical issue there. It's so good to see you.
No, I'm super honored to be here among all these women in the cloud space, and I'm excited to talk about this session.
Awesome. Melissa, before we bring in our next person, a positive and diverse employer culture is really the foundation for business resilience. I think Sarah had so many great points about this. And it's not just who you work for, but who you work with. And you know what? I'm getting ahead of myself. My goodness. I'm sorry. Let me bring on Jennifer Marks. I apologize, guys. I edited my script here and I just threw myself away. Jennifer, can you join us here? You've been with Insight. You just celebrated 20 years. And I think this is so great because Jennifer, you just hit 20 years. Melissa, I think you're at 4 months now.
Well, I'm 2.5 months. So we've got the 2 here, 20 and 2.
I love it. I love it. So Jennifer, give us a quick intro. What is it that you do at Insight?
Sure thing. I am honored to be here, first and foremost, with this amazing group. So thank you for having me back. My name is Jennifer Marks, and I lead Insight's Supplier Diversity Program Office. Jillian, as you said, I am celebrating my 20th year at Insight, and I've held a few different roles at Insight. I've been in legal, I've been in operations, but the last 2.5 years have been the best leading our supplier diversity initiative. So thank you again for having me.
Glad to have you here. Now, as I mentioned at the top, we are in the midst of this great reshuffle of teammates. So it's great to have both of you here with really diverse perspectives about that. Jennifer, you're a bit of a unicorn celebrating 20 years. So I'd love to know, what's really kept you loyal to Insight? How have you kept your career feeling fresh and invigorated and sort of abated off any feelings of maybe the grass is greener?
Yeah, I think it's a very good question. It really comes down to who I work with. And for me, that's a really large kind of cross section. Over the years, I've worked with everyone from sales, services, finance, HR, our diversity and inclusion group, and it doesn't matter. It's the people. And what I find very heartwarming and welcoming is from day one forward, no matter, if you've got a question, if you need help, you don't know where to go. I've not had one person in 20 years say, I don't know. I don't know where to send you. I don't know how to help you. Always help. Always.
I love it. I love it. And Melissa, we pointed out you really just started. You didn't obviously know this. We don't really put this on our job description that come to Insight because people are here to help you. From your experience, what's it like out there as a potential candidate seeking a company change? And I really want to know what motivated you to make your new home at Insight.
Absolutely. This is a very interesting question. I've been in the talent acquisition space for over 20 years now. So I have lived and breathed it for a very long time, have seen the ebbs and flows where it's a very company centric, then it's very candidate centric, but clearly we are over the last year, we have been in a very candidate centric market. Candidates are dictating the market prices, they're dictating what they want, and they're not settling. And companies are really struggling to keep up with the demand of what they need to, bring people on board. For me, I wasn't looking. I got an email from a recruiter on LinkedIn. I barely get on LinkedIn. Actually, in my email, I'm constantly looking at the articles, but the recruiter reached out to me and they happened to attach the job description. So not every recruiter does this, but let me tell you why it was so important to me. Because I had a minute and I clicked on that job description. And I immediately, something triggered in my mind as I was reading through it. I think, Jillian, you've heard this story, is that it was actually gender neutral. Somebody had gone through the whole entire job description and had gender neutralized it, as I will call it. Now, for those of you that are not in the talent acquisition space, you're probably thinking, what is she talking about? So if you go out and you analyze job descriptions out in the marketplace, you will find that they are very, very masculine written, very aggressive words, and people and companies that are looking to hire diversity into their marketplace have actually gone a step further, and they've taken a look at those job descriptions and they've put them through programs or people's eyes, and they've taken those aggressive words out and they've put in words that are more meaningful for a diversity hire like myself. So that was my first clue that Insight was different. Okay. Somebody had taken the time to actually do that. The second thing that immediately caught my attention was the hunger, heart, and the harmony. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, okay, so a lot of companies say, oh, they have work-life balance, they have these cultural things, but I'm like, okay, do they really have this? So during the interview process, I talked to a lot of leaders across the globe as they were assessing me and I was assessing them, and I dug deeper. I asked questions. I wanted to know, is this something that really exists here? And by gosh, it does. We live it, we breathe it. And this is probably one of the most respectful companies I've ever worked for. You are stronger as a team than you are as an individual here. So those are kind of the two things that really attracted me to Insight. And, I think as people look for their journey, they look for their next roles, make sure you align on, those values, those core values that are keen for you to be successful at any company.
I love that you share that story and have that example. Obviously, there's a lot of pride behind that because that was, the company that I work for putting that out there. But it does inspire a question I want to ask each of you. When you're job hunting, it can be a little intimidating when you see some of those requirements and the responsibilities. And maybe as women, we tend to not put ourselves out there as much. I think this group in particular is pretty ambitious. We've got some fabulous entrepreneurs in the room. But Melissa, what is your advice to people, to women specifically, that are applying for roles that maybe they don't feel like they quite tick all those boxes on that job description?
Take a chance. You can't make the shot if you never try. So there is no perfect candidate out there. And I tell hiring leaders this every single day. When we put all those requirements out there, oh, it's that hiring manager going, oh, I really hope they have all 8 of those, all of those skills. But you know what? A lot of the time we'll take 5 of those skills. We'll take 6. Again, it goes back to the people, as John talked about and Jennifer has talked about. You know, if you really mesh with a company, they're willing to take a chance on you. And we're looking for high potential people who, you know, want to learn, want to grow. That's more important sometimes than having all 8 of those skills.
I love it. And Jennifer, a little bit of a twist for you. Again, the resume can be intimidating, the job description, technology industry can feel a little bit intimidating. We're making headway, but it's still predominantly a male-dominated world. But it's a great industry to be in. There's so much opportunity, so much growth and stability. And you yourself are not necessarily techie. Do you feel like you have to be a
No.
techie person to get into technology and be successful?
Absolutely not. I have, again, held a couple of different places within the company, and I came in from a law firm environment where there were large groups of people there to do your tech for you, right? So when I jumped over, it was daunting, right? And I thought, I don't know how this is going to go. You don't need it, right? And so for me, of course, right, the basics are there for everyone, right? Knowing your Microsoft Word, etc. But you don't need to be a techie, and you should not be intimidated, right? If you want to be near, like me, you want to be near or in and involved in an innovative company like Insight, you shouldn't worry about something like that. It's not a requirement.
Absolutely.
Agreed. And marketing. So Melissa, I want to toss something back to you. We're talking about the culture. Sarah mentioned a lot of the value of culture. It's not something optional. It's all part of employer branding, which maybe isn't something that people or companies invest in. Why do you think that is? Why is that overlooked or deprioritized?
There is so much value in having a strong employer brand. And I'll quote something I saw on Glassdoor, that there's 92% of employees would consider changing jobs with no salary increase if the opportunity was to work with a company that has an excellent reputation. So for me, these words speak volumes. People want to work for a company that they're super proud of. And one of the reasons I said that it has to be proactively managed is we all understand social media. It can, like, what do people put on Yelp? If they go to a bad restaurant, or they go to a restaurant, they had a bad meal, somebody is more apt to put a bad review on it than somebody who went and had a great meal, and they're not going to come out and say, hey, I had a great meal. So companies have to take the opportunity to consistently monitor and create their employment brand, or you're going to have it defined by others. And I truly believe that companies overlook it because they really don't understand the importance of it. And that also, when you have so many things going on in your business, they might not have the funds to invest in the resources to proactively build it and keep it up. So I'm thankful that you're here, and we have an outstanding marketing team that helps us continue to build our brand out there.
Yeah, and kind of to Sarah's point earlier, the pressure of doing all that activity is not entirely on the organization. Your teammates are engaged, they're passionate about these things. So creating those opportunities for them to build those communities, it goes a long way. It really does.
It does.
So Jennifer, I want to give you some stage time here. We've talked a lot about diversity, but of course, it's not just about the organization teammates, who you work for, it's also who you work with. So can you give us a little explanation, what is your role today as a senior program manager over supplier diversity? And 20 years, again, like what's your progression been? How did you land in this position?
Absolutely. So I have worked prior with our global CFO, Glynis Bryan, and a few different projects. And she actually came to me and asked me to come work with her and to lead the Supplier Diversity Program office to, first start and really take a fresh look, right, at the program that we had and where we can head, and really kind of just dig into all elements of the program and come back to her and tell her, where we could do better, and where we need to grow and where we need help to get that, moving along. So that was my jump into supplier diversity at Insight in 2020. And we've really come a long way, right? Obviously, executive sponsorship is super important, but you then have to really start doing the hard work, right? And digging into, what haven't we been doing that we need to start doing, and how do we move that forward? So how do we move, remove obstacles, right, to get to where we need to be? And that comes in many different forms, right? We are in the process of joining many great very large national organizations that help support diverse suppliers, right? Like the NGLCC for the LGBT community, the NMSDC, right, for the minority community. And it's really something that, I'm excited to bring forward here. And it's really something that helps jumpstart a lot of engagement within the company, right? So that we can all start working together first to kind of socialize our initiatives, and then, right, like put action to words.
Sounds like a lot of work. For anybody in the audience that's maybe doing this management job or maybe trying to start up a diverse supplier program, where do you start? Or maybe what's one of the biggest challenges that you encounter that maybe you hadn't planned for?
You know, it's I have to say, right, with Glynis, asking me to come help, right? What we didn't have to deal with at Insight at all, that may sometimes be a challenge for others, is just getting the executive sponsorship, right? Getting everyone at top level C-suite to say, okay, this is something that we need to focus on. And we already had that. I think a hurdle that we all have, whether, you know, whatever job we're in, but especially in this type of job, what I would say is to anyone starting or looking to refresh their program, don't be afraid to stand up and say that we can do better. Don't be afraid to do that. Don't be afraid, right, to put forward your ideas, because it's a scary thing to stand up and say, we need some work. We've got some work to do. And I just, that's what I would say was the harder part for me to go, it's a very large, successful public company. How is that going to be received? And you shouldn't worry about it, right? Because if you've got that sponsorship like we do, it shouldn't have been a worry for me.
Has it been a positive impact for teammates or even our clients, knowing that we have this program in motion?
I believe so, simply because we, didn't have as much engagement, right, as we do now. And I'm not done, right? Again, you should always be looking at what you can do better. And I do think that, in me, in this role, and working with our sales groups and, right, even our teammate resource groups, right, our goal, right, is obviously to build meaningful connections for our clients, and we really mean that, right? So I think that clients have come forward, and the last few years of me working with them more closely, and said, what, thanks for really taking us seriously, our initiative seriously. You're not just bringing forward, right, kind of a paper trail of check the box ideas. You really you're walking your walk, and we appreciate you for that. So I think that's great.
Makes us a good company to work for, work with. There's a lot of
Agreed.
pride there. So thank you both so much for your time today. I hope that the audience took away a lot of great insights and ideas. It was just great to be here.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks again.
Thank you.